Well, thanks for taking your time today to join me on this webinar about meeting your new AI agent. So we've been talking about this now for a year and a half or so, and the nice thing is that it's getting better, and it's a lot more reliable, and it's we still don't want to pretend that it's a live person, but I think too it can provide a better service in a lot of ways, and we're going to go through all that. We're going to, as I said, do a live demo, three different ways of doing that, and give you a bit of a tour, as well as kind of the bigger platform. But really, one of the things that we need to be concerned of in funeral service is having to respond to folks. Sometimes we have lots of staff answering the phones. Sometimes we don't. Maybe we're busy. Maybe we're short staffed. Maybe we just have a smaller firm. And one of the things that's happening nowadays, and this term is called speed to lead. And speed to lead really is, you don't really get the benefit of the doubt of someone maybe trying to reach out and then, they're not, they weren't around, or I wasn't able to talk to anyone, or I left a message, and then, and then they wait for a couple hours. They, unless they know you personally, they might just go to the next name that they find online. And so it's not always the person who's been in business the longest, the person who has, even the most Google reviews, that's great. But it's who connects with people right away. And then what do you do once you connect with them? So if you're going to at least get that initial communication going, and then direct them to the right person, or book an appointment with them, all these things can be done. And I'll give you actual examples of how this is working in real funeral homes. So we can't just rely on what it was in the past, right? So when that family phones, or when someone sends a message, or when someone, asks a question, and they're online, we just can't let that time go. This would have been maybe 10 years ago or so. We surveyed a number of funeral homes, just by email, of asking for prices. And the quickest that we got a response back was like 45 minutes. The longest was, of the people that responded, was like over a day. And then there were still a handful that never responded. So, you kind of wonder, like, what's going on. And nowadays that's even going to be, more important, because more people are going to be on their cell phones. They're going to just, they may be in a situation where they can't phone, and, they might be sending a text, or they might be, sending an email. So we need to be able to engage with them where they are. And again, it all depends on, how quickly you can make that connection and forward the conversation. So now you've probably seen AI agents or chatbots, or whatever you want to call them. I think they're more than just like a chatbot. I think that's, sure, you've got these automated chatbots on some sites, but nowadays they're much more than that. You can have actual conversations with folks if you want, and you can still have even text conversations with them as well. But one thing that I really do, and if you know me well or know me for a long period of time, I just don't look at this as like a blanket. Hey, everyone can use this, and it should be all the same, because it's not, and it's. I just want to kind of show here where I think it can be used really effectively, and where maybe you want to be careful, or maybe you don't want it in certain circumstances. So first of all, let's just look at cremation providers. So if you have just a cremation provider business, and you're not providing services at all, you probably have a lighter staff, or very minimal, and this can help, whether it's on 24/7, or maybe it's just on from 5 in the evening to 9 o'clock the next morning, and it can take the place of an answering service, or it could be running all the time. And again, it might just be answering some questions, pricing questions, and we'll get into that, of how that works, and loading up your prices into the chatbot. And then it can then take those people that are really interested and move them along the process. So if you have an online cremation arrangement website, you can move them, you can suggest for them to take the next step, even provide the link for them to click and go ahead with, you've answered their question, and they're not needing to phone someone. They just need the next steps. And then once they have that information, you can say, now to proceed, you just go here to this link, heppelcremation.com/start, and they can start making the cremation arrangements. Also, what can happen then is even afterwards, it can follow up with any paperwork. It can look after the DocuSign or that type of thing. That's built in as well. So it can, in the bigger picture, it can also save, instead of paying $30 a month here and $50 a month here for other services, it can all be under one place. And then afterwards, it could even schedule for, a time to pick up the cremated remains, if that's something that you do. It all depends on your process. So that's for cremation providers. Now, for pre-need departments, and I've separated them from general funeral homes. One, and maybe I'm a little biased because I've been, even though I started as a funeral director back in the late 80s, right out of high school, 10 years later, I was on the pre-arrangement side, and still doing that even today. And sometimes the pre-need department doesn't get the same attention as the at-need department, and that's fine. We can put up with that. But the other thing is that we could also, though, since we're not dealing with families that are experiencing a death right away, or a death that's happened, is that the use of an AI agent could also help in the pre-need department. And so they could respond to leads quickly. They could book those, either whether it's an appointment, or whether it's, if you're hosting a lunch and learn or seminar, that can get booked as well. Again, without them having to talk to anyone, talk to your full-time staff. And even if they may not have prearranged, they've just been kind of getting some information, you can nurture them and just see that they don't become a cold prospect. So you can kind of keep them informed. And one of the things that and you may not be aware of this, but in the last few years, I went back after I sold Funeral Results Marketing, and stayed on. That was in 2020, stayed on for a couple of years. Then after that, at the end of 2022, went back to the local funeral home here, McCall Gardens, and started back on the pre-arrangement side. And slowly I was adding. I left that 15 years ago, back in like 2007, and thinking that, hey, this is going to be this will be great. I'll just step back in where I was, and I don't know, it didn't have the same. It wasn't the same when I stepped back in, and there wasn't any systems in place that I had set up. So anyway, it took me a little bit of time, but I got some of these systems set up. And what happened was, it got going and back. And one of the things too, and I'm the first to admit it, I'm a marketer. I'm not a salesperson. But the owner said, like, hey, how come you're getting so many of these like one appointment sales? Like most of the time we're like, people would need like 2 appointments or even more to see families. And again, it's not that, I'm this great salesman. It's just that I've brought these people further down the sales funnel. And so when they make they make their inquiry, and so we communicate with them, and maybe they've then set their appointment, and I further communicate with them, again, not me directly, but it's, our system sends out an email letting them know, thank you for booking your appointment, looking forward to seeing you on this date. And then, if you want, you can hear some of the information that we'll go over, and here's a list, or you can click here to see the vital statistics that we need. Half the time people fill that all out, which is great, moves them further down the funnel. We also have our choices document that we send out, and has all the different choices depending on what cremation, burial, what disposition, what type of service, and it kind of goes through that. So by the time, and this isn't everyone, but it's more than half, by the time they come in to see me, they're much further down that funnel, and it's just the process then of making sure we've got all the information, and go through what the services they actually want, and come up with a price. Also in those emails, we've let them know the benefits of prepaying and all that. So I just wanted to kind of go in a little bit deeper here, because it's part of that success. And I think a big part of that success that we've had with me getting back into pre-need up to about 6 months ago or so. Now I'm just kind of overseeing everything. Is that we've for where we could automate things, we do that, and where we need like human interaction, we do that as well. So it can be done. So that's pre-need itself. Then when we look at funeral homes, now if it's a fair-sized funeral home, you might have a couple of receptionists on all the time, and you might have your paid answering service team, or maybe even it's internal. And it's for those bigger firms, having the AI agent like on at night may not be what you want. Now, you could still have the kind of the chatbot and the voice agent on the website to answer questions, but not more of like taking over the role of an answering service or that type of thing. So, it can answer questions. We upload all your pricing, all your FAQs, maybe even like come up with other ones that you haven't thought of, and those could be used on your website as well. But it's going to really help just capture that that visitor who's on your website, and a funeral home website has maybe 50,000 visits a month, just because of all the obituaries, and they might have questions, and any business related questions, not about the services, because the AI agents can't figure out, they're not going to know when Mrs. Jones's service is. But other than that, they can provide information, and that just alleviates those questions from your staff for them to look, to work on more important things, or items that are dealing with, with live families that have walked in the door. So I want to just give you kind of overview of what it is, and So, it can be, and usually you see these kind of on the bottom right of a website, and there's a little icon there with like a little thought bubble or a little conversation bubble, and you click on that and it pops open. And people can either text or like type out a question, or they can hit the voice and they can like ask us a question through their, through their microphone on their website. Or if they're doing this on their cell phone, you can easily do it. Just click the button and talk. So that's why you have your website chat, your browser voice chat. You can, as I mentioned, you can have it answer the telephone, so we can get a phone number. Your regular phone number can be forwarded to the new one, just like how you transfer the phones at night. That can be done, and then you can, take that off, the next morning if you want. But it's also going to allow them to communicate through email. They can, they can text, and the nice thing too is you have these other places where people can communicate with you. Whether it's through Facebook, Instagram, or maybe even some people use WhatsApp, and those conversations are also tracked all within inside the AI agent. So it's just one place to look. You're not having to log in here and log in over there. So how this works is that the inquiry comes in. There's this initial conversation with with your AI agent, and the AI agent's going to ask for information. They're going to ask for name. They're going to ask for phone number. They'll ask for email address, and we have times too where people will say, no, I don't want to give that information, and so it will just try to answer. It'll try to answer the questions that it has, and it only answers what it knows. If it doesn't know, it says, oh, that's you'll need to talk to one of the staff and let me put you in touch with them. But it can also set that appointment, and then even after that, then kind of the follow-up begins, and that's a bit more advanced, but we'll also talk about that today. So the nice thing is that it all stays within inside the the CRM, the customer relation management system, and ours is Funeral Clients. Now, Funeral Clients is our white label system of CRM called Go High Level. It's it's very popular, and that you've probably heard of Salesforce, and you've heard of maybe HubSpot, and Go High Level's very like on the forefront of not only just general CRM activities, but especially AI activities. Now, and just to let you know, usually we keep, kind of the pricing kind of towards the end of the webinar, but I just wanted to let you know that this isn't, some folks are saying, oh yeah, it costs $500 for this, $500 a month, which is, some folks just don't need all that. So we have plans that just start at like $195, to kind of get you going, and there are steps up from there. But we'll explore those, and but we'll go through some of the demonstration here. And folks are probably wondering, like, well, what happens if we need to talk to a staff member? As I mentioned, the AI agent will sense that, or they can even sense if someone's getting agitated or upset, and they'll stop and then instruct the caller maybe what's the next step, and it all depends on how you want it set up. That can be transferred to a live phone number. So if it was like a cremation service, and maybe there's just one or two people working there, and you're working off of one cell phone, the AI agent can gather most of the information, but then from there it will go and transfer to the call to the live cell phone number, or it can take a message and there's the nice thing is there is, if it's a voice call, there's an audio recording. If there is, if it's chat, it will have the transcript, and it also have the transcript of a voice call too. So for voice, you'll get both transcript, like written out, and also the audio. And it's just meant to really hand off those things when it's needed, but not having to answer 100% of the calls up front, right? So let's get right into the demonstration and kind of show you how that works. I've got a bunch of notes here, so I'm going to just be dragging over different screens here. So this is one of our demonstration websites. Don't worry, there's no HEPL cremation business out there. And so here's the chatbot here, and so you can it can be clicked on, and then you can have the conversation. So here is whether it's just through chat or like via email or text. So this would be what we call asynchronous. So it's not live. It will just be enter in your information and ask your question and send it. So it's there, but it doesn't have to. But for live chats, we can have that. Now they're going to ask for information just to keep track of that, and then proceed with the conversation. But what we'll do is we'll go to the live voice. Now I want to make sure that you can hear this.
Hi, I'm Sarah. You have reached HEPL Cremation Services. How may I help you today?
Oh, hi there, Sarah. I was wondering if you could tell me how much just a simple direct cremation would be.
Sure thing. Let me check the current pricing for a simple direct cremation at HEPL Cremation Services. One moment. Thanks for waiting. A simple direct cremation at HEPL Cremation Services starts at around $2,500 depending on your specific needs. That includes transportation within the service area, all required paperwork, the cremation process, and returning the ashes in a basic urn. If you need a more detailed quote or want to discuss any extras, I can connect you with our team. Would you like to go over anything else?
Yeah, maybe can you have a member of your team give me a call?
Absolutely, I can arrange that for you. Could you please share your name and the best phone number for our team to reach you?
Sure. My name is Bill Egan.
Thanks, Bill. And what's the best phone number for our team to call you?
250-686-4576.
All right, so that's 250-686-4576. I'll have a team member reach out to you soon. Is there anything else you'd like help with right now?
No, that's great.
Thanks, Bill. Someone from our team will be in touch soon. If you need anything else, just let us know. Take care.
Thank you. So that's, I'm sure you've been on a number of different, voicemails or recorded services. So you can hear that, even though there is a little bit of latency there, a little bit, it's using my name. It's very professional. We go through, in the system, it comes and there's some, generic languages and prompts and things like that. And, we go through and we tidy them all up to make them all professional. So there's no like contractions, like there's no like wanna instead of want to, or gonna instead of going to, that's, we make them so that it's all professional. That it's, I will, I'm going to give you a call kind of thing instead of I'm going to give you a call. So that's just one example. Now, in that though, there would be the staff's going to get a recording of that, and I can show you how that looks. This new split view from Chrome, I don't know if anyone knows about that, but I try to drag screens around and then it gets sucked back up into the main screen. Anyway. So here is here's the information, and we've so it's got the call recording here, it's got the transcript here, and you can read through it, and so it's fairly instant, and then all depending on what would happen, where it could, if it was going to book a time, and we'll do that with with our next demos. Let's see, there's a few chats. Let's go on. So that's one chat that I wanted to show you. Now, the other one is our I'll just give you a different one through Funeral Futurist. This is because we have it here too. We have to we want to what's the phrase? We have to eat what we kill as well. And again, we can have the same type of conversation. And this time, what I'll do though is the purpose of this is just how the calendar recording, setting a calendar event. And I'm not demoing the chatbot, or just typing it in, because I'm sure you've all used that before, and I think the voice is it ends up in the same place, but at least we can hear what's going on with the voice.
Hello, this is Jane. You have reached Funeral Futurist. How may I assist you today?
Oh, hi there, Jane. I was wondering if you could tell me about your Google Ads service for funeral homes.
Absolutely, I can walk you through that. Our Google Ads service is designed specifically for funeral homes and cremation providers. We use AI to optimize your campaigns, so you reach families who are actively searching for at-need services online. The goal is to maximize conversions, meaning more calls and inquiries, while making sure your advertising budget is used efficiently. We handle everything from keyword targeting to ad copy, and our AI continually adjusts your campaigns to get the best results. This way, your funeral home appears right when families need you most, and you stand out from competitors. Is there a particular challenge you're facing with your current advertising, or are you just exploring new options?
Yeah, we just want to add this to our marketing services. So can I set up a time to talk to someone?
Of course, I can help with that. We usually schedule consultations with Robin Heppel, our digital marketing expert. He'll walk you through how Google Ads and our other AI-powered services can fit into your marketing strategy. Could I grab your first and last name, your business name, and the best phone number and email to reach you? I'll confirm those details and then get you booked in for a call with Robin.
Sure. My name is Bill Egan.
Thanks, Bill. And what's your business name?
Egan Funeral Home.
Got it. Bill Egan from Funeral Hall. What's the best mobile number for you?
250-686-4576.
All right, so that's 250-686-4576. And your email address, please?
Will be robin@heppelmedia.com.
Thanks. Just confirming, so that's ROBIN, Daryl, PEBBLEMEDIA.com, correct?
No, that's not correct. So it's robin@HEPPELLMEDIA.com.
Thanks for clarifying. So that's ROBIN, HEPPELLMEDIA.com, right?
That's correct.
Perfect. Thanks for confirming. I'll set up a consultation with Robin Heppel for you. Is there a day or time that works best, or would you prefer the earliest available slot?
What about tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.?
Tomorrow is Friday, July 31st. 10 a.m. falls in the morning slot. I'll book you in for a call with Robin at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Just to confirm, Bill Egan from Funeral Hall, phone number 250-686-4576. Email Robin at HEPPELLMEDIA.com. And your appointment is set for 10 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, July 31st. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or ask before I finalize this?
No, that's great.
All right, you're all set for your consultation with Robin tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you need anything else, just let us know. Have a great day.
Thank you. So that's just, and it does take, a minute or two for things to get set up on the other end, and I'll pull those across so you can see that it goes right into, how it goes into the system. It's unfortunate for all my family members, usually past family members, that my grandfather Bill Egan gets used in these demonstrations, or my dad Tom Heppel, or different variations of the names. So with that, I will. So here's what the call transcript looks like. This was from the previous one, right? So it has kind of the information, and then the full transcript here shows, them spelling it out, that they didn't get it right the first time. You're also getting like an email. So when someone goes through and clicks through, they get, there's an email that goes to the person. There'll be like a text message. So if you have someone on call, they can get text as well. Because these aren't, in the kind of the olden days where someone would fill out a form and you get sent one email. What's actually happening in the background are workflows. And so it's a number of different steps. It's not just one step that we rely on. And I'll show you that when we get to the workflow section. I do have one more sample here. So now that I've shown you the demonstrations of the two previous sites, you can now see how it works for your funeral home. And what you need to do is go to, if you're on the desktop, just go to funeralaiagent.com. Or if you're on your cell phone, go to funeralaiagent.com/mobile and follow the steps there. It's just going to take a few minutes to go through the process. And what will happen is you will get an email with instructions. Now you need to use the phone number that you're going to be dialing from. So when you enter in the phone number, make sure it's a legit phone number to your cell phone that you have with you right now. And then when you connect, you're actually going to be the client family, and the AI agent will be representing your funeral home. Now, just a caveat, it will have only been briefly trained on your website. So it's not going to have all of the information from every page of your website, but it will have a general sense of your website and FAQs and things like that. So it does take a little bit of time for this to process. Now, just to let you know that it may not work on some websites due to the different settings that you have on your site. And those settings are done by your website development company to prevent any AI bots from going onto your website. So this might have been done to prevent AI bots scraping obituary notices, which some folks have had issues with. But what that's going to do is that's going to prevent the AI agent from collecting the information. So if it doesn't work, that's the reason why. So here's the page. Just fill out the information here. And again, use your own personal email or your own business email, your cell phone that you have right now, and your website for your funeral home. And if you're on a mobile, then you just enter in your funeral home here. And proceed and go through the next step of filling this out. And then the information will be emailed to you, and you can do take the next step of the demo from there. And let me know how it goes. So what we've got here, though, is this is what a workflow is, and I'll let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Yeah. So now, in the last 25 years of me working with different CRMs, they've called these campaigns, they've called these sequences. Workflow seems to be now the word, and it's getting used all over. So, as I mentioned, people don't just fill out a form and then you get an email. They fill out a form. You can set it. So say if we're talking pre-need here, this is for a pre-need workshop. So if you had more than one, say you had 3 pre-need reps, you could actually assign this new registrant to one person, or you could leave it blank and only have it for people who respond afterwards that they want to set up an appointment, and then you assign it. But so part of it is you can assign it if you have a team more than one. If you only have one person, everyone goes to that one person. If you have more than one person and they're kind of all the same, meaning that they all kind of work out of the office, and so you can have like a round robin. So it goes to person 1, person 2, person 3, and then back to 1, and it just works that way. This is putting them into the pipeline so that they actually go into the pipeline, and you can see them where they are, and I'll show you that in a sec. And then they get like a confirmation email. They get tagged, and tagging is a way of being able to segment your list inside your CRM. For here, it's for the workshop. So we set the event time, and then people go and they get the initial email here, and that's when they sign up. So then, since we put a date in here, then it works how many days before that event. So this is kind of like a turning point in the workflow. And here then they would get like the 1-day reminder, at one day before, so at 24 hours before, they get an email reminder. Now, you could even do it, though, that you could send a 24-hour reminder. You could then send a 1 hour text message update. More and more people are, using their cell phones. Even older folks, when they come in, they pull out their iPhones, and they're looking up, contact names or who's their executor, and they just flip through their phone. So most people have that, and this is just me. When you're making arrangements now, I would flip the order. So if you're asking for phone number, I'd say, okay, now I need to, your phone number. Can I get your cell number first instead of getting that home number or getting that work number? If you can, because going forward, it's only going to be more and more cell numbers or mobile numbers. So that's just an example of a workflow, and we have lots of different workflows, and I'll show you that. So this is in the Heppel Cremation one. This is just an example of the pipeline too. So anyone who's used the pipeline would recognize this. But what this does is that if a new lead comes in, the new lead would be here. Then you can actually just drag it to the next spot, and then keep on dragging it over. Or if you want, it can it will actually trigger different actions. So once they go here, we could send a certain set of emails. If we, drag them to closed one, then it could send a, thank you for making your pre-arrangements with Heppel Cremation Service, and go through. So, it has this full capability as well in the in the system here. So we'll get back to that, but I'll cover a couple more things. So some of the workflows, I gave you an example of one of the workflows there, but we have a handful of workflows that we've created already. Whether it's leading up to the, for pre-need, it's just the confirmation, as I explained, how I feel that we're getting more one-time closes for pre-need. Seminar registration, seminar follow-up, long-term nurture if they don't pre-plan. For at need, it can be used. And I'm also too very sensitive. Everyone, or most funeral homes, are using call case management systems, and I understand that, and they work, and they're very elaborate. But there are a few things that we could do to get the person at least to the appointment, and then at that point, the funeral director enters in the information and goes from there. But you could, again, nurture someone from the time that they have the first call to the time they come in for the arrangement, and get them better prepared. You can also set up maybe if you're waiting on payment, you just send out, you could have 3 or 4 emails in the workflow that send out, and you could have 3 emails and a text message. And, again, just trying to get paid if you haven't got them to pay up front. Same with insurance assignment. And then also too, you can have kind of like a post-service follow-up, and even a review request. So that's part of what we do. And if anyone's paying separately for that can be included in the bigger picture if you have one of the other programs. And maybe it's even cremated remains are ready for pickup, and you just kind of let them know. Then also too, there's ones for aftercare. So maybe you can send out an email for veterans benefits, or some grief resources, or estate benefit, or different paperwork that need to be done, and others. So we can create them too for firms. We have a set block of them that we have ready to go, and then we can tweak them and customize them for your firm. And one thing too, when we build these, right? So it's not just, they're not just ready to go out of the box, right? There's some setup, and so we have an onboarding session with you, and we have our team. We've got 4 different people kind of working on this, right? So we have our onboarding. So Maggie reaches out, talks to the funeral home, gets all the information that we need from them. Especially if we're doing the phone call and text messaging, we need to get like even government approval. It's called A2P, and that needs to get done. So we get that set up, and how you want the handoff to look. And then we go to the, then we set it up. So we've taken all your information. We take the workflows that you want. We customize them to how you want. And then, we get that all set up, and then internally we test it. So we're go through and testing all these things. And this is, as you get into like this type of development, right? You can't just hope that it's going to work. So we have internal QA, and then from there we have, one last external QA. So meaning that it's going to be as if the client, and, what messages are they getting and how do they look? But, nothing goes live until until you sign off with everything. And just to talk about us for a bit. Okay, got a couple questions here. So, Scott said that he went to his firm, Modest Cremation Alternatives.ca, and it worked. So that's good. So you can go through it, Scott, and let me know how that goes. Question from Sarah, from onboarding to going live, what does the timeline look like? Hey, that's a great question. So in our experience, let's just say once we have the meeting with the funeral home owner, right? And that's sometimes the biggest, is trying to get the owner online. We do need, especially if people want the A2P, meaning they want to be able to phone and text folks, that needs this A2P government approval. And so we need, I guess it's good, but like they make us, like you have to actually like show your driver's license to a camera, and you do that. It verifies your identification, and then it will proceed. So it's it's not something that you can just try to game the system. So which is good. So this process here, let's go back to here. If we had our onboarding session, this process, could take maybe a week. Again, depending on how much you want. If it's just going to be kind of standard with like half a dozen workflows, we could do it within a week. Probably there's going to be some back and forth, but within 2 weeks for sure. Then it will be just getting it set up on your end, where we need to get the if there's a chat widget, like the AI agent needs to be embedded into your website. So we send that, and we've sent it to we've dealt with a bunch of website companies. So most often it's either Tukios or Tribute Tech, and there hasn't been a problem either getting information or passing on the information that they need to embed into their site. So that it's just code. So like lots of like, it's just like an embed code. So that's really not a problem. So hopefully that answers your question. It could be, as quickly as a week after that setup. But it's like we need to get the owner and to get things verified. So leading up to that might be a few days ahead of time. Within a month for sure. I don't. The only times that it's not is when we're not able to get, like, sometimes we're dealing with like another staff member who's doing a lot of this stuff, but it will take then the owner to verify the account, because they're kind of it needs to be the main representative of the company. So with the CRM, as I mentioned, it's built on Go High Level. So, and there are others within funeral service that are using Go High Level and have white labeled it. Some are charging a lot more for the services. I just want to let you know, when you deal with us, it's our team. We've got 4 full-time people that are working on that. So it's not just some side project. It's not just some virtual assistant that's working on it when needed. This is one of our core services that we offer. Now, with just my experience with CRMs, I've been using them for as long as I've been in pre-need, and I've used Maximizer, Act, Goldmine, Infusionsoft, HubSpot, and Go High Level. So again, ours is a white label version of High Level, and we've added some custom tools as well. Like, we have custom lead magnets that are our own, that we've created, put them in, and they don't come with High Level, that type of thing. Also, other businesses within funeral service have come to us, and we actually onboard their clients for them. So we don't have to have funeral clients. You don't have to use our system. As long as it's Go High Level, we can help out. And to date, we've already onboarded over 50 clients in this. So we're not, again, we're not rookies at that. We've gone through a lot of different things. And just to explain kind of the overall cost for everything, we have our basic, our Connect package, and that's really just the chatbot on the website for both text and voice, and it's on your website, and you'll get the call recordings and you'll get the transcripts, but that's it. So sometimes that's all that people want, and at least you're opening up to allowing people to communicate. And it's funny, people, once we load these onto their website, and they'll get 2 or 3 chat messages a day, or maybe even more, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I never knew this." It's because they never had it before, right? So you without having it available, you don't know if it's going to get used or not. But people do use it. They're on your site anyway, so they're already somewhat web savvy, and if they have a quick question, they're not going to hunt for your phone number and phone and then get passed around. If they can get a quick answer through the chatbot, they'll do that. And now they can also do that with a phone call. Then we have our engaged program. So that's a step up. So it includes everything here in the Connect. And that has the inbound AI telephone agent. So it's going to work the same as the voice agent on the site, but it's going to have a phone number attached to it. So that can be, people can phone that number first. directly if that's the way you set it up, or you could forward people phoning in at night. And we've had people like do it just for nighttime and like, hey, this is pretty good. Why don't we just like do it 24/7? And so then the chatbot will then forward that information on when when needed, either the completed information or a transfer. And it can then notify the staff. I showed you how those workflows work, and it's email, text, messages, and then also all those other channels, so Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. It will book your appointments, so especially for pre-need, it's great. You just people, and this is one thing that that we've done even at McCall's. So if people phone into the funeral home, and they want to set a time to book an appointment, the staff at the front desk, they get the call, they go onto the website, the funeral home website, and they fill in. They just go there and they'll see the availability. So they're not looking at our internal calendar. They're looking at the public calendar, and it only shows what's available. And we that's another thing that we do. We sync up your Outlook or your Google Calendar so that it will only show days that are available, and days and times that are available. And then also too, you get the access to the whole CRM. So it does many other things. It does secure signing. It can it does, again, those workflows and everything there. So you're getting access to that package. And then for our follow through package is having all of the workflows and more. So this is where you're using it to, like, maybe you collect names and they subscribe to your quarterly newsletter. Again, like for 20 years, emails is the number one way to connect with people, and you own that. You build, this is a marketing term, you build your list, you kind of keep all those names, all those email addresses. And so it doesn't matter if Facebook changes or if Instagram changes, at least with getting them in, subscribing to a newsletter, you can still communicate with them. Again, we don't want to overly do it. You don't want to email people every week, but you could email them. I think once a quarter is just a perfect way for a funeral home to communicate with their community. You just have like a spring, summer, fall, winter newsletter that's sent out, and you touch base with them those times, and you're just kind of that top of mind. Obviously you have a pre-need message in each one. Maybe it's changed up a little bit, and then other things about your community or a staff member or that type of thing. And then with the also the follow through too, so you're getting those workflows, the newsletter, and the pipelines. So for some sales reps really like the pipeline, how that works, and they can just track their appointments. And ideally, we're getting them to miss the first two, a new lead, and we're jumping them right to appointment booked, and then from there, they're in there. Another set of workflows goes off once they've booked an appointment, up until the time of when they come in for that arrangement. And then we also then have our custom embedded lead magnets. So we give those to you. So instead of, hey, download this vital stat sheet that you need to fill out, it can now be kind of more customized of, tell us what type of service you want, and we'll, ask a few more questions inside the app, and then we give them a custom response. Same with how prepared are they, right? So, have they made their pre-arrangements, yes or no, or partially? Have they, do they have a will? Yes, no. Partially. Have you told your kids? that type of thing, can ask them, and then it can score them on how ready they are. Anyway, it's just better than just like a PDF download. And then also too, this system will get reviews, and so it's one of the things right now that's so important for your SEO, getting found in Google. If someone's searching for funeral homes in your city, you want your funeral home or cremation provider business to show up in the kind of in the maps, the Google Map listing, and they're going to their main criteria is they're going to show people or firms with the most reviews, with the highest score, and usually from what I've heard, it's like 4.4 to 4.9 is really good. If you have 200 reviews and they're all 500, and you're 5, that kind of starts to look a little fishy for some folks. Now, once you get over 100, right, you might have 200 and you have one bad review. Well, that's not going to even show up. And then, but what's really hard to see are two other factors: are the recency. So, how many have you responded? How many have you received in the last 6 months? So that's another factor that Google really weighs on. And are you responding to everyone's reviews? So what ours does is it helps generate the reviews, and you just give the list of once a week, once every other week, and it sends out the messages, and it'll send out a text. This is why you get the cell phone number. It'll send out a text. It'll also send out an email, and it sends out 3 messages, right? So you're not hounding them, but it's not just one time, or it's not just something verbally that you've asked them at the end of the arrangement. So just kind of keep that in mind. Once you get that going, you're going to this is how new funeral homes start to get chosen over long established 100-year-old firms. It's because they've got a lot more reviews, and then people will kind of even wonder, like, hey, why does that that other funeral home's been here forever, how come they don't have that many reviews? So it's kind of a negative if you're not doing it. Now, you can do it manually, and that's fine if you have some staff to do that, but our system kind of makes it that much better. And the other thing is, like, it'll never be higher than $5.95 a month. So we just one of the benefits of Go High Level is it keeps on getting better and better, and we don't they don't keep upping the price on us, so I don't think we need to either. So anyway, those are all things that we can chat about. If you're interested at all, we can meet at just go to funeralfutures.com/meet, book a time, and we can show you around in more detail and answer your specific questions. Oh, someone wanted to look at the workflows here. These are just, again, samples. Some of them can be kind of very detailed, and they could, like our, we also, one of the other ones that we have, or this one here, the long-term nurture, that's like for 180 days. So, it's kind of like when you've tried to follow up with someone, they didn't prearrange. Instead of just forgetting about them, you put them into like a long-term nurture, and they're just soft questions or soft emails, and that goes for 6 months. And then what happens, and one of the nice things that in these workflows is that once they get to the end of one, you can actually instruct it to, like, okay, now take this person. If they've made it there, if they haven't unsubscribed or anything, then move them to the quarterly newsletter, and then they'll get those like 4 times a year until they unsubscribe or what have you. Oh, just the compliment. Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully, I know this stuff's all it's all new, and we're trying to keep we're trying to keep on top of it. The other thing that I've been thinking about is we're going to put a almost like a membership website together, and there'll be it'll be like there'll be free access, and there'll be like some paid access too, and that will have that'll be more of a like general AI conversation. It's not going to be kind of just a place for me to sell stuff. It's going to be just more questions about other tools out there, right? Like I've used lots of different tools. I continually use Claude and ChatGPT, and there's one's doing well, then one jumps ahead, and the other one's doing well, and so it's good just to kind of keep track of both of them. Those are things that I could share. There's there's other tools that I use. So actually this presentation here was I used Claude Design, and I have been using Gamma, and this is I think way better. I gave it lots of detail and been going back and forth a lot. It's a bit of a pain to update, but you can still do that. Now, one thing though that Claude doesn't do well on, and it admits it, is that it doesn't create images. So like in Gamma, it will create the image itself. So what I did was I had in the Claude Design, I said, okay, everywhere where there's you think there should be a picture, at least give me the prompt, and I'll go do that in ChatGPT. ChatGPT is amazing for images. I also use Midjourney for images, and so anyway, that's just one thing that you can do. The there's still a bunch of you on here, so I'll keep chatting until you want to go, but I'll show you. This was amazing. Claude Design. Oh, that's not it. And then if you go to I guess I'm gonna have to hop out of here, and so I thought was amazing. So this was a long back and forth with Claude Design, and it asked me a whole bunch of questions. I uploaded a bunch of things, my my resume, my this is for Futurist, but I've done it for a couple other firms as well. Anyway, this, and I'm sure some of you have gone through the expense of getting a brand guideline. Well, this put all of this together, and it would then like say, hey, this is based on your website, these are the things. So it will actually look at your website and then reverse engineer your brand guide, all the buttons and how they are, the fonts that you use, the sliders, all these things. Like, are your buttons, do they have rounded corners or square corners? And then all the different fonts and what sizes and the like headlines, versus subheads and stuff like that. So anyway, this was one thing that I think's available. Where I see this helping funeral homes is, I'm not sure how you do your memorial folders, but you could have your own brand guide in there. You could then upload, 50 images, and then say, hey, this is, we use 8.5 by 11 landscape folded, and we want to, this is what we want to create. And then once you create the system, then you just go through and you have projects for each system. And then you would just put in that person's name, the information that you would have, and it would do all the artwork. And then, you can always tweak it and stuff like that. So that's just one thing that I thought, hey, this is great information. I'm not going to be selling this information, but it could be, I think, really useful to people, like to funeral homes, cremation providers. So anyway, that's kind of also what we're thinking of, and it'll be free. Just people that can have conversation, share things. You can share skills or talk about connectors and those things. So interacting with different having two tools connect with each other. And one last thing, if you haven't been to my let's see here. So this is a website that I created in Manus. Manus is owned by Facebook, Meta, and what I've done is gone through. I have the most most highly populated cities, and have kind of worked down. I think we're in our 70s. We have 70 in here. Here, let's just take Pennsylvania, or take Philadelphia. And so what it's doing is it is looking at a number of different things. There used to be this great tool called Market Samurai that I used all the time. And if you worked with me 10 years ago or before, you would have gotten these like tables with the, kind of faint green, faint yellow, and faint red. And this, like how well are you ranking? And this is kind of a slightly different, because it's bringing in other things like number of reviews and number of obits in the past month, that type of thing. But this is like super handy if you see your firm on here, and then if you wanted to see, like, maybe here you're like, hey, I'm at Jacob Bruce, and what can we do? So you can have a drop down, and it'll let you know, oh, well, here's their problem. They don't have an obituary section, or maybe they do, but the Manus can't find it, which is almost worse, because you're putting the effort out to get that. And anyway, these are just, again, some other tools that we use to look at different markets, and you can use this for like, you can use tools like Manus to create projects, or maybe you want to create something for your community, just a senior's guide. You could create that in here. Anyway, not in this website, but in something like in Manus. So that's something else that we'll be we'll be sharing. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure you'll get an email or two regarding that. Okay. It's almost 2 hours, so I really appreciate everyone sticking on, and we will, that's just one. Great. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks everyone. Again, I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. I hope you go to funeralaiagent.com for the demo and that it works for you. All right. Take care.